Say and spell your name.
First name Delphus Hicks, spelled Delphus. Middle initial Van, last name Hicks, Hicks, and I am a junior. I was born in Michigan City, Mississippi.
Okay, tell me about your parents.
My parents is Delphus and Gladys Hicks.
Okay, you're a junior, but you wasn't the firstborn
No,
male or the last, so how did you get to be Delphus Jr.?
I don't really know. I'm the fourth child, but I'm Delphus Jr., named after my father. And I don't know how that happened, but I didn't look like him, so I don't know why.
Okay, and your mother's name was?
Gladys Woodson Hicks.
What did they do for a living?
They farmed.
Okay, farmers. Okay, what kind of crops or animals were on the farm?
Crops, cotton, corn, peas, peanuts, okra, sugar cane, and that's about all the crop we deal with. They had livestock, cows,
And cows. Okay.
hogs also.
Did they just raise them just for the family to eat, or did they take them and sell them? Was that a
They would market the cows. One thing about it now, on the farm, you didn't kill a beef too often because there wasn't no way to keep it, but they would kill the hogs. You know, every year you kill so many hogs to have something to eat, but then you sell the one that you didn't kill, and let's keep raising them. So we had hog, cow, chickens, had some turkeys too, duck, guineas.
What did your parents instill in you growing up? What did they instill?
Hard work. I mean, we all had to work hard, but we always told you don't steal, you don't take nothing from nobody, you work for what you want.
Did any of the teachers that you had in school, did any of them make an impact on your life?
Yes, I had an English teacher, Mrs. Cardwell. When we go in her class, you'd always have to have prayer, and she would sing a song. Mrs. Cardwell, and the vocational teacher that taught ag, that was Lawrence James. I learned how to build a few things by listening to him and being in his class. So, well, first thing I built, I built a self-feeder for hogs. I built a self-feeder for hogs. Then later on, I built a cabinet for my mom to put her fruit in after she canned it. And I could build a few things, you know. But
Okay, mechanics, how did you come about that? Because I know growing up, I used to see you work on cars, overhaul the motor, about everything you could do to a car. So how did you learn how to work on cars, do mechanic parts?
well, when you get a used car, a car's already wore out from somebody, you have to learn how to work on it. We as kids didn't get no new car. The only new car we got after me and my wife were married. So the old cars that Daddy had, and we had to work on them to make them run, you know.
So your dad could work on cars. You used to watch him work on cars.
I used to watch him, you know, do what you have to do to it. And after I finished high school, I went to Chicago. Me and Frankie got married in July of '61, and they drafted me into service February of '62. So we were married about 6 months before they put me in service in the military.
You got drafted in the military?
I got drafted, and my wife wanted to come back to Grand Junction. I tried to leave in Chicago, but she wanted to come back to Grand Junction, so she came back to Grand Junction where her family was.
My mother was very strict on us. She didn't allow us to car ride with boys. She carried us to church, and she was didn't like for boys to be. We couldn't ride with the boys, so we were sitting in the car with, I thought, who was my boyfriend, and so my friend went and asked my mother if they could take. It was two brothers, and me and my sister, if they could take us home. And so while he was gone, Delphus came up to the car and spoke and said, I will, let me see, how did he have it? I would like to come around sometime when Trans not around. And so we all had a big laugh. And then he walked away from the car. And he was standing over there just looking, and I had never seen him before. So that's the first time I saw him.
Then, do you remember the next time you saw him, or did he come around?
Yeah, he came. And if I'm not mistaken, did you come with them, Delphus?
One time he came out there, he showed me where you live.
Yeah. He came. The next time Trans came to see me, him and his brother, you was with him, wasn't you? It's been so long, baby. And I asked him after that, I said, why did you come out here with my friend? And that was my friend. He said, I just want to know where you live. So from that, me and Delphus was just like sisters and brothers for years. And I had no idea that he was trying to date. I wanted me, for a friend. And it was for years before we started dating. And when he graduated from high school, he was going to Chicago. And he came by and talked, and he told me he was getting ready to go to Chicago. And so my mother was very, very strict on us. She had 3 children, a son and 2 daughters, and she was very, very strict on us. So Delphus asked her if he could take me to the movie. And at that time, the only movie was in Hollis Springs, Mississippi. So that was about, 7 o'clock, I guess, or 7:30. But anyway, she finally gave in to it and said yes, because she knew all of his father's brothers and his father. In fact, his father and his father's brothers dated in my mother and them family. So she told me to be back at home at 10 o'clock, have me back at 10. And Delphus didn't have no good car, he had a little raggedy car. We went to the movie just like she told us to do, and we stayed in the movie a while, but he couldn't drive it fast. So we had to come back. So when she said 10 o'clock, she meant 10 o'clock. She didn't mean outside the door, she meant inside the door. So we came back, and he sat there on the couch and talked to me, and so finally he got up and he left. And after that, he was going to Chicago to live, to work, get a job. So he left, I think, was the next day, going to Chicago. And our dating was over the telephone. He would call me, and we talk on the telephone. And so,
were you still in high school at the time?
No, I have got out of high school. And so we dated over the telephone. He came home, and we got married. And that's when I went back to Chicago with him.
Okay, I went in the military. I had my basic training at Fort Little, Missouri. They call that Little Korea. Everywhere you go there was uphill. I don't care where you went, you're going uphill, seemed like, especially with a backpack on. So I did my training there. Then when I left Fort Leonardwood, I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, right out of Washington, D.C. When I left Fort Belvoir, Virginia, I went to Fort Hood, Texas, 2nd Army Division. And I stayed there until I went overseas. In 1965, I went to Korea. I was stationed there at Camp Kaiser, Korea.
And did you go to trade school while you were in the military?
I went to mechanic and also clerk typist school. Mm-hmm. And after I left Fort Camp Kaiser, Korea, I came back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I stayed there until I was discharged.
You were integrated platoon or division?
Yeah, it integrated, yeah.
What was that like?
It was bad. I mean, believe it or not, in military, you grow close, regardless what race you are. You grow close because everybody need everybody. You know, I mean, your life might depend on whether it's white or black. You want to live, you know. So I had good friends that was Caucasian, Negroes, you know. Some people refer to them as African American.
Okay, and then when you came back out of the military, you came back to where?
Grand Junction, Tennessee,
And that's where.
where my wife was, and you wasn't there at that time, but I think early Hugh was already born.
Okay.
You mean she waited on you?
Early Hugh was born when I was in the military, sugar. Okay.
You mean she waited on you?
Yeah, she was there when I got back.
Was that unique for guys in the military?
Yeah, lots of guys got to call Dear John, them letters that they send you, I don't want you no more, got somebody else or whatever, you know, and I saw a lot of Dear Johns come through the mail.
And so when Delphus came home, then he got a job and he started to work. So after that, I got a job and I started to work. And I worked in the gummer factory and Dover Elevator. And from Dover Elevator, I went to beauty school. And then we built our own his and hers, barber shop and beauty shop on to our house. And Delphus was a barber and I was a licensed cosmetology. And we worked there and would have been there until now, but when he went into law enforcement, then he needed to have been in Bolivar for the county seat because the jail was in Bolivar, the courthouse was in Bolivar. So we moved to Bolivar. We found a house up here and we bought a house. And we moved to Bolivar. What year was it there?
79.
In 1979. And from that, this is where we made home.
I really wasn't too interested in it, but a lady next door to where my wife and where we were living after I got back in Grand Junction, she came to me and wanted me to get in law enforcement, be a deputy in that community. And she had a son. I asked her, well, why don't you let your son get in there? She said, well, no, he not ready. He not fit to get in there. So she kept insisting that I get in there. So finally, I agreed to serve part-time in that community. And I served there for 2 or 3 years before I went full-time in law enforcement.
How many people were on that staff in Grand Junction?
Huh?
How many people were on that staff in Grand Junction?
I was the only person in that community. At that time, they had community deputies in different communities. I was the only deputy in that community, but the sheriff's department still had their department that would come down and also be in that community.
So when did you realize that's what you want to do?
Well, that's what I'm about to get to. We was at Grand Junction one night, and one of the deputies made the statement that we hadn't made any money. We got to get somebody, arrest somebody. And it was 3 little black young men standing over there on the side of the street. Wasn't bothering anybody. But they went and arrested those guys for public drunkenness. And I knew then that if I want to stay in law enforcement, there need to be some changes made because those guys were arrested because they was there and because they were black. And I knew the only way to change it is to become the head of it.
So what was your biggest hurdle in becoming sheriff? Your biggest hurdle?
You know, that's the amazing thing about it. At that time, I had lots of white people come to me and want me to run for sheriff. Matter of fact, they were the first one that wanted me to run. But what I thought, in my mind, I thought that I might pick up the votes from people that were like 40 or younger. I figured the old people are all set in their ways and wouldn't vote for a black person. But I was wrong, definitely wrong. When I started campaigning, this guy from Pocahontas invited me to come over. And that's a neighborhood where it used to be the milkman couldn't let the black guy get out of the vehicle because they thought he was a bear, they said, scared of him, you know. That's Pocahontas. Now, and this guy was from Pocahontas, 80-some years old, called me and wanted me to come over and talk with him. And I was kind of a little scared, I must tell the truth now. I was concerned, but I, I wanted to have a witness. But the mistake I made, I took my wife with me. They could have took care of both of us over there, and nobody been there to raise the kids. So I should have took somebody else and left her at home, you know. But anyway, making a long story short, we got there, and this guy, it was a big house that had a porch all the way around. You know, older houses had porches on them. And the main purpose of a porch, so you could almost get some air any time by moving yourself around on the porch. So this old man, he was white, so we got there. He invited in, we sat on the porch, and I think my wife might have stayed in the vehicle, I'm not sure, but he told me he wanted to help me get elected. I still didn't trust him. I was concerned that him being old of the Jim Crow organization, how would he come and trust me? You know, want me to be a black sheriff over white folks. So he talked, and I didn't take him serious until I got ready to go, and he told me, wait a minute. And like I said, then he was old and had overalls on that had the bib on, and the overalls had a pocket up there that smokers carried the cigarettes in. So he went in that pocket and finally come out with some money, gave me some money on the election. Then I knew he was real. And that was quite an experience for an old man like that to give you money. And I had good support from the white and black. It's just amazing, really, what good support I had.
What's the lesson for us in that?
The lesson on anybody, whatever job you have, do a good job on it. Do it to your best, because that's what helped me. Whenever I went out, I would do what I could to help people, to do what's right. And if you do that, people will respect what you're doing, and then your future will be lots better because people will realize that you are real and you're concerned not only yourself, but the people that you're serving over.
Sheriff, I can ask. So you see the young kids get arrested that night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the thought or desire sparks in your heart and mind that you want to be in charge.
I wanted to do something, make sure everybody was treated fair.
What was the next step for you, though? I mean, it's one thing to have a goal, but what was the next step?
The next step would be to become sheriff.
What would that look like? I mean, what was the next step for you? After that night, what was the next
Well,
step?
I kept working, and I had opportunity to go full-time with the sheriff. I worked diligently under him, and most people refer to me that you're doing the job. You ought to be sheriff, you know. And I kept doing the job. Every job I go on, if I plan to stay there, I would try to do a good job. And I worked hard at it, and I made a lot of friends in the community. And when I ran against, I know, one or two white people, but I wiped it out. I mean, I got the majority of the votes.
So you're saying you did the best you could where you were at the time?
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of people have these lofty goals.
No.
So they can't even take the first step because they got their heads up here.
No, you got to, life is a stepping stone. You got to work your way up. Should work it up, rather. Mm-hmm.
How much time went by between those kids getting arrested and you running for sheriff? How much time went by?
How much time?
Yes, sir. Years, months?
5 or 6 years at least.
So you had to be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
Was it tough? Was it tough because since you knew where your goal was and you were still here, was it tough?
It wasn't really that tough. We had one area in the county that, well, the guys before me, they was black guys, was designed to arrest black people. That's why they was hired with black folks. So, but now I have to give the sheriff credit. Nobody never told me who to arrest. They said, do your job, be fair with everybody. So I arrested both colors. And I never had anything except on the south end of the county, had some good lawyer down there by the name of Jonathan Reese. And every time you arrest the white guy down there, he would tell you, well, I'm going to call Mr. Faris. Of course, I knew Mr. Faris because he was in the same county I was born in. But he was a good lawyer, but that didn't stop me from arresting him because if you got your case, a good case, you can go through court with it.
And the process, you went from deputy sheriff to chief.
I went from deputy sheriff to chief deputy, which is next to the sheriff. They call it under sheriff, chief deputy. I served there for 5 years. Now, and the sheriff in 1974, which is J.D. McKinney, was killed in an automobile accident that me and him were together. A drunk guy ran into us and it killed him on Highway 100 in Villa Road. And that was quite an experience, you know. I heard the guy gasping for breath, but I wasn't able to do anything for him, you know. So after he was deceased, his wife was appointed by the county court because he just had a month left. And she immediately made me chief deputy. So that was my first chief deputy, and the new sheriff came in. He left me in that position.
I didn't do anything that was wrong to get arrested or anything, but had I did something that was in violation of the law, what do you think, how do you think you would have reacted in a case like that?
First of all, you always taught as kids, if you went to jail for anything except fighting, you was on your own. Because you might get angry and start a fight, but now if you start to steal something or drink something, you know from day one that's wrong. And if you had been a victim, I would have told the deputy or whoever arrests you to do your job, do what you're supposed to do.
Which means if I were pulled over for DUI, DWI, and they called and said, hey, Sheriff, I got your son pulled over here. He's been drinking. He's all over the road. You would have told him to?
I would have told him to take him to jail and let him call a friend. Don't bother about calling me.
Okay.
Did you ever have to arrest family members or people you were really?
Yeah, I've arrested some family members. You know, everybody in Benton County, once you stop them, they claim to kin to either my wife or me, you know. But yeah, I had to arrest kin people, and I didn't have no problem. I didn't arrest nobody unless I was sure that they did something wrong. When I was deputy, I didn't have no trouble doing what I was supposed to do. And I can't tell you why, but it just happened that way, you know. And some of my good supporters financially was white.
You think because they respect you?
I guess that's what it was, because, you know, I didn't have no money. And I was kind of new in Tennessee because, you know, I came over. And my wife had a good name in Grand Junction because that's where she was from. So I could piggyback off of her because her and her parents were real respected.
And to kind of give us some education, you were the sheriff over Hardeman County.
Right.
What towns make up Harlan counties?
Okay, first we start off with Bolivar, Pocahontas, Milton, Grand Junction, Whiteville, Newcastle, Tune. Yeah.
Middleton.
Well, I'm going by the one that's cooperated, cooperation. So I kept in that position until I ran in sheriff in 1978.
And that made you the first black sheriff in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, how big of a deal was that at that time?
It was an honor to me, but it wasn't such honor that you would let that stand in your way of being a good sheriff. Doing what's right as a sheriff.
Okay, you were elected sheriff in 78.
1978.
First black sheriff elected in the state of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And you served in that position for how many years?
Well, I want to think it was,
For 16.
16 years. Then a guy ran,
You were out for 8.
and I was out for 8. A guy ran against me. What they did, say they got another black to run to split the votes. They couldn't beat me. They one-on-one. They split our votes up. So I was out for 8 years, or 8 years, James, or 10. 8. Then I went back in and served
8 more.
8 more years.
Did you know this black guy running against you?
Yeah.
Were y'all friends?
No, he wasn't a friend. He was a fireman. He was a fireman.
Black guy.
Oh, the black guy. No, somebody got him from.
You knew him. He was from.
I knew of him, but I didn't know him until he got there. He was in the military, but he came and ran. And he ran in the Grand Junction area. That's why I was real strong. So he got part of my votes there, and that caused me the election.
And then he went on back to the military right after the election.
Yeah, he never did. He never did retire to the military. He just came and ran, then went back.
It was set up.
Yeah, it was set up. Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel about that? How did you feel about that at the time?
Well, it's not a good feeling, but you have to prepare yourself. You win some, you lose some, and don't drop your head if you lose the right way.
Well, let me ask you this. So, you got in it to serve the public,
Yeah.
but you also had to be a politician.
Well, one thing very important that I found: everybody you meet, you need to speak to them. Everybody you meet, you need to speak to them. And now even, I'm still waving at folks when I'm driving. They become a part of me.
Why?
Why? Friendly. You show friendliness. People like friendliness. It means a whole lot, And if you get in a position, and turn your head on people, they don't think nothing about it. I mean, they'll hate you for it. The same people you meet going up, they're there when you come down.
You, as growing up as a child while you were sheriff, we never saw you carry a pistol on your side. Why did you not ever carry a firearm on your side?
I didn't really ever need one. I didn't think I needed one. And most people that I dealt with were people that they knew me, and the ones didn't know me. I mean, they respect me enough. I remember one night we went out, there was a little gambling out there, and it was just me and another guy, didn't have one car. We took the ones in our car that were whole and sent the rest of them up there. And they went up there and paid the fine.
I know campaigning, the years of campaigning and being out all over the whole county, I met a lot of young guys, not only black but white also, that would say that you would warn them about if you knew they were doing something wrong, instead of just automatically arresting them if it warranted getting arrested right then, yeah. But if you knew that you could warn them, and if they didn't do what you tell them to do, or for as cleaning up, stop doing what you're doing, you come back and give them. Why did you warn them versus just going on and arresting them?
Well, some people make a mistake in life, and everybody that get arrested sometimes not hard criminals. Sometimes young people get a habit of doing something that nobody told them it was wrong, and they keep doing it, and that can ruin their life. You know, you get a record, and most times you can't get a job. You got 2 strikes against. First of all, if you're black, that's 1. Then if you got a record, that's the other strike. So I believe in giving a person a chance when they deserve a chance. Now, I didn't give everybody an opportunity, because if you've been in it a long time, you knew you were wrong. But if I told you to get your house in order, then if you saw me coming back, you shouldn't be surprised. And I appreciate you and Diane, how y'all conduct yourself. That means a whole lot to me, you know, how good a person you all are. And you were very instrumental in my campaigning, because I guess you can put up more signs than anybody, can't you? That's a sign, man.
That was bad, because come July, when the ground is hard as concrete, you can't hardly beat the stake in the ground. So we graduated from that to the little iron rods that you see everybody now putting them down in the ground with. So,
What was it like being a wife of a law enforcement officer, as far as dealing with dangers?
It was hard, baby. I can't say it was easy. It was hard because by him being in law enforcement, they put a whole shift on me. You know, the load was on me to raise the children. And I did, like I say, I prayed and asked the Lord daily to teach me how to raise my children. I said, Lord, you know, I don't know how to raise children. And you teach me, you give me the wisdom and the knowledge how to raise my children. And that's what I did.
What, when he was in the military and the sheriff, what would you pray? What would your prayer be for your husband?
Pray day and night for him. Day and night to take care of him and to, you know, keep him safe so he could come home. Mm-hmm. And yes, I got tired when he was, you know, being sheriff and deputy. But I stuck with it because that was his job. And that's what he liked. And so I didn't complain. I would just take it to the good Lord because he was the only one who could work it out. Mm-hmm.
So you feel like he was destined for this law enforcement?
Huh?
He was destined for this law enforcement career?
Oh, yeah, he loved it. Once he got into it, he loved it. Uh-huh. And one thing, he made a good sheriff. He made a good sheriff. And the people were crazy about him. And that meant a whole lot, too. Mm-hmm. Because they wanted him to be sheriff. And he conducted himself real nice and everything. So he had the whole county to take care of. And I had 3 children to take care of. That's the way it went. So he had a load too. And I can't say I had a load because my babies were sweet. They didn't give me a lot of trouble. Like I say, children are doing now. They just didn't do that. And I'm not going to say I did it, but the good Lord did it. Because I put him first, and I tell you all, put your children in God's hand. Ask him to direct you the right way to raise your children. Because, see, I didn't know nothing about raising any children. And never was around a whole lot of children. And I had to depend on the Lord. Because I wanted to have nice children, beautiful children. And I had to pray. And that was daily. And I'm still praying for them. They're grown and they're out on their own. They got children. I'm still praying for them.
What, in your opinion, looking back on his career in law enforcement, was his most notable accomplishment in your mind?
Ooh, baby.
I'm sure getting home safe meant the most to you, but if
Yes,
there was
yes, yes. The people liked him. It wasn't like they disliked him. They was crazy about Delphus. And they still is crazy about him. And he carried himself in a nice way. He carried himself real nice.
First of all, if you're a law enforcement officer, respect the people that you're over, and then if you respect them, they will respect you in most instances. Most times they will respect you. And if you get stopped by an officer, if he said put your hand where you can see him, put him up there. If he gonna give you a ticket, go and accept the ticket. And if you feel like you was not speeding or not violating the law, the courtroom is where you need to settle it, not on the street. You know, if I'm going down there speeding and the police put the blue lights on me, then I stopped. I know I'm speeding. I'm gonna look around at what you stopped me for. You know what I'm stopping for? I was speeding. You know. Then I wasn't speeding. Then first thing you're doing, you calling the police officer a lie. Calling them a lie. Take his ticket, and if you wasn't speeding, go to court. If you was speeding, pay the ticket. I don't remember how it came out. I remember when I got elected sheriff, they have a sheriff conference every year, you know, up in Gatlinburg, and we was invited. You know, that's the first one I went to. I think that me and Frankie, probably me and my wife were the only black people up there, you know. And of course we took our kids at that time. We took, I know, even James Blood, and I think Diane was around too, I guess.
because this was 78, you said?
When he was
Yeah.
elected in '78.
Yeah.
After he was elected, the sheriff conference would always be there.
Well-
And you were appointed or nominated. You were nominated and I guess appointed or voted on to be head of the sheriff association. You were the president of the sheriff association.
Yeah, the Sheriff Association, they elects every year a sheriff for to be the chairman of the Sheriff Association.
Is this statewide, district-wide?
Yeah, they're statewide. All 95 counties can be represented.
So when did you earn that honor?
I guess I believe my second term. First or second. Mm-hmm.
What did that mean to you? What did that mean to you?
Well, it means that it's still some good people left. You know, it's still some good people that believe in what's right, you know.
Why do you think they elected you president?
I don't know. I guess because every time I go to a meeting, I conducted myself as a gentleman.
What was it like going from segregated America to the America we all know today?
Mm-hmm. Well, see, the first thing, when I went to the military, that was a big help to me because it was integrated. And, you know, them 5 years, I forgot about segregation until I came back, and some of it's still around. You know, in the military, it's hard to be segregated, you know.
And to piggyback on that, when you started to run for sheriff, when the white gentleman from Pocahontas invited you over and told you that he wanted to help you, that was a reassurance also that, okay, we are not so segregated like we used to be.
Right, and you know, like I say, when I was deputy, I didn't have no trouble doing what I was supposed to do. And I can't tell you why, but it just happened that way, you know.
Sheriff, if you'll grab it right here. I think
On Friday, Hardeman County and the state of Tennessee honored former Hardeman County Sheriff Delphus Hicks.
All right.
It was 40 years ago that Hicks was first elected sheriff of Hardeman County.
And whereas in 1978, Delphus Hicks Jr. was elected as the first African-American sheriff in the state of Tennessee, Sheriff Hicks served as the sheriff of Hardeman County from 1978 to 1994 and from 2002 to 2010.
Tennesseans of a certain age realized this was no small accomplishment in 1978.
And the amazing thing about it, Pocahontas, Milton, Southern, predominant white folks, I carried those precincts. And I was proud of that. They accepted me for who I was, not my color.
Right.
And I appreciate that.
Hicks would go on to serve 24 years as sheriff, and his trailblazing impacted future elections across the region.
I think if he'd never been elected, I wouldn't have been. One of the things that I heard around Jackson was Hicks over at Bolivar's doing it.
Delphus Hicks paved the way for David Woodbury. He paved the way for Bond, for Melvin Bond. He brought something to this community.
Hicks retired from law enforcement in 2010, but his dedication to Hardeman County continues.
And what I would like to say to everybody, whatever you did, if you just said something on my behalf, I thank you for it. And if you worked for me, I thank you still. And today I'm still obligated you as a citizen sheriff. Citizen sheriff.
You got your gun.
I keep it close by.